Welcome in to the Rockies Insider. I am your Rockies Insider, Patrick Lyons, talking news of the day for the Colorado Rockies. Chase Dollander, how could he earn a draft pick, a first-round draft pick for the Colorado Rockies? Who's injured? Who's banged up right now on the Rockies? Are they on the mend? Will we start to see them in action a little bit more? Do we know the layout of the starting rotation? Okay, if it's four-man rotation, which there will be at least four, what's the order going to be after Kyle Freeland? Can we figure that out? And a few other pieces of news from around the world down in Scottsdale, Arizona at Salt River Fields. Wednesday's transactions for the Rockies sent catcher Braxton Fulford and infielder Keston Hiura reassigned to the minor league camp. Colorado now has 38 players remaining in major league camp, 8 of whom are non-roster invitees. One of those invitees, of course, Chase Dollander. We'll get to him in just a moment. But on tap this week, if you're watching this live on Thursday, the game can be heard on KOA Radio. It's German Marquez versus the Rangers' Kumar Rocker. Kumar Rocker, incidentally enough, drafted by the Rockies. Go check this out. It might have been 2017. I think maybe it was 2018, 2017. Just taken in like the 35th round. It was already apparent that he was going to go to Vanderbilt. And usually once you're past the 30th round, maybe you can get a steal. Rockies also drafted Dansby Swanson at one point. So Marquez versus Kumar Rocker today. Friday, it's going to be Antonio Senzatella versus the Angels' Yusei Kikuchi. Saturday's a split squad game. You might get both Kyle Freeland and Ryan Feltner. Freeland last through on March 16th. So he'll probably be at home against the White Sox at Salt River Field, but also Ryan Feltner is the other one. He could end up getting a start because he hasn't been on the mound in a game since March 14th. So you might get both of those guys together on Sunday. Should be the final start of spring for Chase Dollander in his tryout to make the opening day roster. So we'll see what happens after Freeland. It's going to be Freeland on March 28th against the Rays. After that, it could be Feltner, then Marquez, then Senzatella. Right now, it's Marquez and Senzatella going back to back. We'll see if Feltner slots in there at number 2 or if he's going to be the number 4 starter. Once you get into the season, it doesn't really matter all that much. Monday, final game in Arizona before they fly to Florida and play a game against the Twins in Fort Myers on Tuesday. But that game on Monday against the Brewers, the last one on Rockies TV. It's an afternoon game. It's also going to be on KOA. I should have also apologized, or rather prefaced this entire episode that I'm a little sleep deprived from the 4 a.m. wake up times over the last 2 days with the Tokyo series. So I apologize in advance for any misspeakings or wrong word choices, because I notice when I'm behind on sleep, I think for a lot of people, you don't notice the wrong word choices. So hopefully I can get through an entire show without any of those kind of foibles. Let's look at some of the injuries. Right now, Nick Martini has a sore wrist. He's not going to have any baseball activities for a few days, according to Bud Black. Truly day to day. We'll see what happens with him. I was kicking the tires on what this opening day roster is going to look like. And I could really see a scenario in which Martini is added to the 40-man roster, but then immediately goes on the IL. Strange, sure. But that would keep him around for the Rockies, but also not force him to play early on. Could be a win-win situation for both the team and the player. That still remains to be seen. We'll see. Thairo Estrada, still a little fuzzy. There was a little bit fuzzy after getting hit in the head on Saturday during play at second base. Not clear if it was a concussion, but they are certainly taking it easy with Estrada. He's supposed to play on Thursday. I have not seen a lineup here at 12:35 in the good old PM Mountain Daylight Time for the Rockies game. And actually, now that I think about it, is this game the final night game? The Rangers love playing night games. It is. That would be why I haven't seen a lineup. 7:05 tonight. So a lot of you might even get an opportunity to watch this and hear the latest about those Rockies. Nolan Jones, haven't seen him in the lineup in a couple days. He's just ill. He's sick. Kyle Farmer had somewhat of a bug earlier in spring as well. And Kris Bryant apparently is fine. Now, he's only played 10 games so far this spring, and the staff plans on getting him another 15 to 20 at-bats over this less than a week now of spring training, so he can be at about 40. That's a typical number that a lot of guys usually have targeted for their springs as far as live batting practice or live at-bats. Other than 2016 and 2017 for Kris Bryant, when he got 58 and 59 at-bats respectively, he's usually been around 30 to 40 at-bats each spring. Bryant has yet to play back-to-back days. He has played 2 games in 3 days a few times. He did play 4 games in a 7-day stretch to start his spring training. There was a 4 out of 8 day stretch, but ultimately it looks like they really might be treating KB with kid gloves, which, might be the best way to go about it, to still try to get some productivity from him, still try to get some of that veteran leadership they thought they were getting when they brought in a former MVP. And it would still also allow them that much more playing time for some of the young guys on the roster, especially if you decide to carry both Zach Veen and Jordan Beck. It seemed like I was only going to be one of them in right field, with Beck having the advantage. 2 hits on Wednesday, including a third one that was absolutely tagged. So nice job by Beck. But you might be able to carry both Veen and Beck, especially if you're not sure what's going on with Nolan Jones, if he's sick, if maybe he's struggling. Is he playing through some nagging soreness? Perhaps. We don't know. Is he just a little ice cold right now? He is a slow starter. We have seen that from him in the past. So you might be able to have both Veen and Beck on the opening day roster if one of them is going to get some time at DH, or maybe one of them is going to spell Jones in left field, and Jones is your DH for a little while. So it could allow you to mix and match really nicely to start the season. So Kris Bryant will mostly be DH. That's no surprise. I'm not sure how much we're going to see him in the field. 5 games, I think, is the over-under that I'm setting for Kris Bryant, either at first base or right field. Most likely it would be at first base. Charlie last year, in his final year before retirement, in his age 37 season, he did play the outfield 26 times, which was a decent amount. 2023, he was out there for 30 different games, 28 starts. So Bryant just not in the same condition as Charlie Blackmon right now. So 5. That's probably where I'm setting it. 5.5 if you need to. So there's no ties. Let's go 5.5. On Tuesday, Chase Dollander, another scoreless performance by the 23-year-old out of the University of Tennessee, 9th overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft. He looked really solid. 2 walks in there, and he's has a tendency to maybe get behind a little bit in the counts sometimes. You like that he's able to strike guys out, right? That's obviously a quality that not a lot of Rockies pitchers have ever had. And he had 7 strikeouts on 73 pitches and 3 2/3 innings pitched. So 7 of his 11 outs came via the strikeout. He also produced 14 whiffs. That's a lot. It's a lot of swinging and missing. Gave up 2 hits, so 4 base runners and a little under 4 innings. That's really solid. And again, Bud Black continues to speak highly of Chase Dollander. Not those little pieces of criticism that sometimes can factor in there when a player is maybe falling short of expectations. I think Dollander is meeting those expectations. That's why it will be so interesting to see if he makes that opening day roster and what that could mean for the Rockies in regards to earning a draft pick. But this spring so far, Chase Dollander, he does have the most strikeouts on the Rockies right now. And on Fangraphs, I sorted by pitchers with at least 10 innings pitched. Again, this is a crazy small sample size, but just to give you an idea about that strikeout component in Dollander's game. He's 21st in the 150 or so pitchers who've had at least 10 innings pitched. He's 21st in terms of having the highest swinging strike percentage. So that's swings and misses divided by pitches thrown. So he's in and around the zone. He's getting guys to swing, and they just can't put the bat on the ball. He's third in terms of opposite field percentage, 51.4%. So even if they put a bat on the ball, it's going the opposite way. Pull percentage is at 31.4%. That's 13th. So again, the velocity is up there. The off-speed pitches are looking really solid, deceptive, a lot of space, a lot of gap between his fastball and those off-speed offerings to mess up hitters' timing. That's what it's all about. We know. So the Rockies have a decision to make here. Now, Zach Veen is another one of those guys where the Rockies have to make a decision. He's now tied going into Thursday for most stolen bases in all of MLB. 7 stolen bases. He got that 7th Tuesday night against the Giants. And he's continuing to get starts. He's continuing to be a factor and forcing the hand of the Rockies, who, again, they had their guy. They had Jordan Beck, I think, as very much penciled in a very dark graphite lead and a very dark pencil. But now, again, Zach Veen is changing that formula just a little bit with his strong play. Some other game notes: Brenton Doyle, 2 hits on Wednesday, diving catch, poised for a big season. Sean Bouchard continues to get more starts over at first base to see if he can possibly serve as a backup at first for Michael Toglia when that's needed. So that's another indicator that perhaps Nick Martini might not be making the roster, or at least might not be healthy to make the roster. And as I said, Jordan Beck with those 2 hits did a nice job with Zach Veen hitting behind him in the lineup, batting 9th in that sort of double leadoff role. So nice job for Jordan Beck there. The bullpen. Let's get to the bullpen. That was another thing that I'm interested in figuring out how that shakes out, because as I've mentioned before here on the Rockies Insider, with a 4-man rotation, that does allow you a 9-man bullpen. Typically, you have 8 men in the bullpen. And all signs indicate that they are going to start with a 4-man rotation to start the year. I tend to think that Dollander might make one start at AAA to allow the Rockies to have a 4-man rotation and 1 extra reliever, which we saw how they needed that extra long reliever and an extra arm in general on opening day last year, about an hour into the game. So they want that little bit of insurance. So they'll eventually need a number 5 starter, a 5th starter between April 2nd and April 6th, because there's no off days there. And that's maybe when they make the move to promote Chase Dollander. So if you go with 9, here are the guys that they're going to have in their bullpen, I believe, on March 28th. Still got a week to go. Scott Alexander and Luis Peralta from the left side. They offer different looks. Alexander, more of a soft tosser, which is fine. A lot of off-speed offerings. Peralta sitting at 95 miles an hour last year. That puts him in the 26th percentile as far as highest velocity is concerned. So those are your 2 lefties. Your 6 righty relievers, not including a long reliever, it's going to be Tyler Kinley, Seth Halverson, Victor Vodnik, Angel Chivigi, and Jimmy Herget and Diego Castillo, the 2 veterans to pair up, at least from the right side, with Tyler Kinley. Now with Castillo, he's had 9 walks in 9 innings entering Thursday. Not great, but he's got that veteran experience. He's got big league experience, and Buddy and the staff, they like that. So that's something they think he can work out. That's been a part of his game, unfortunately, in the past. Go and look at his numbers. But I think in general, it offers them, again, more insurance throughout the duration of the long season. Zach Agnos has been great. Conversely, he's been a guy that hasn't walked almost anybody. 9 1/3 innings pitched in 8 games, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk. Absolutely impressive. So he is somebody we're going to see in 2025, but not just yet. Not just yet. Herget Also, 1 walk in 10.1 innings pitched. So you've got the 2 lefties, you've got the 6 righties, and then Bradley Blaylock's going to be your long reliever. He was originally listed as the starter for Wednesday, but that didn't happen. Jake Woodford got the start, and Blaylock came out of the bullpen as, that is how they're going to be using him going forward. So 2 innings pitched, no earned runs allowed. So probably one of the strongest long reliever candidates they've had in quite some time. So that's really positive. Also might tell you that, maybe right now Blaylock is that number 6 starter in the rotation, with number 5 being, well, rather, maybe he's the 7th, right? If Dollander's the 6th, Gomber's the 5th, but he's starting the season on the IL. Blaylock is more likely the number 7 starter. But what is the order going to be of that rotation? Talked about it earlier. I think it might be Freeland, Feltner, Marquez, then Senzatella. But Chase Dollander. How can Chase Dollander earn the Colorado Rockies a draft pick in 2025? He can do that if he's placed on the opening day roster. If he's not, he cannot earn the Rockies a draft pick. Here's why. Now, in the most recent CBA, there are rules in place regarding prospects that are important to note. It's called the Prospect Promotion Incentive Pick. If you include a top 100 prospect, as deemed by MLB Pipeline, on opening day, and that player wins the Rookie of the Year award, your team gets a compensation pick. The D-backs were awarded the 31st overall pick in 2024, last year's draft, when Corbin Carroll was the unanimous NL Rookie of the Year award winner. Orioles were awarded the 32nd pick right after the Diamondbacks last year as well, when Gunnar Henderson won the American League Rookie of the Year award in 2023. Both of those picks were worth $2.9 million, about $2.9 million. So you're not only getting a very high pick, but you're getting a lot of financial flexibility when you get that compensation pick when your rookie wins the Rookie of the Year award, because and they started the year on the opening day roster. Diamondbacks used the entirety of the slot value on outfielder Ryan Waldschmidt, who's kind of just on the outside of top 100 prospects, outfielder out of the University of Kentucky. Orioles went under slot to save about $500,000 on their pick. Now, the first time this happened was actually 2 years ago. Julio Rodriguez got the start, right? Mariners fans were excited. They weren't sure if there was perhaps going to be some service time manipulation, but no, the Mariners started him on the opening day roster, ran away with the American League Rookie of the Year award, and the Mariners received the 29th overall pick. So it's right after the first round, and some teams lost their pick. So they had the 29th overall pick in 2023. It gave them also $2.8 million that came with that pick. So this, or rather, in 2026, that pick at around number 30, 31, 32 is going to be worth about $3 million because those bonus slot values increase each and every year. And the Rockies could get one of those compensation picks if Chase Dollander starts on the opening day roster, or he's placed on the opening day roster, and he wins the Rookie of the Year award. Now, you're probably thinking, well, wait a minute. How could Paul Skenes be tied to this? Because he's top 100 prospect, all-world prospect. I mean, now he's already an ace, going to be starting opening day for the Pirates. And he wasn't placed on the opening day roster. You're right. The other element with this is, so the Pirates are not getting a compensation pick because Paul Skenes won the Rookie of the Year award. They didn't place him on the opening day roster, so they do not get a compensation pick. Because they tried to be cute, because they tried to limit his service time a little bit, allegedly, there's no way to prove that, but because they waited so long to call him up May 11th, they actually got punished. They got punished. Now, one of the reasons why it seems very likely he was not promoted until May 11th, and why some prospects don't get promoted until late April or early May, is to keep their service time down. Now, there's 187 days in an MLB season. And if you are on the active roster, which also could mean you are on the IL. But if you are on the 26-man roster for 172 days, then that is considered a full year. So you don't literally need to be on the roster every single day from opening day to game 162. You don't have to. 172 out of 187 days gets you a full year of service time. So there's a difference of 15 days. If you wait 3 or 4 weeks before calling up a prospect, then they will be short of 1 full year of service time. So when it came to Paul Skenes in Pittsburgh, when they called up Skenes on May 11th to make his major league debut, from that point to the end of the season would have been like 130 or so days of service time. So it wouldn't have been a full year of service time, which meant he would have stayed under team control for an extra season, and he wouldn't have been a free agent until 2030. Again, this would be called service time manipulation when a team does that. However, can only speculate that that's what the deal is. Alleged service time manipulation. But by winning the National League Rookie of the Year award, one of the other new things that the CBA states is a player gets a full year of service time, despite not having 172 days in the majors. So now, because he won the Rookie of the Year award, he will be a free agent after 2029. So the Pirates do not get that extra year of service, or rather gets that extra year of club control. And on top of that, Pittsburgh does not get a compensation pick because they didn't have Skenes on their opening day roster when he won the NL Rookie of the Year award. This is what could happen to the Rockies and Chase Dollander if Dollander is not put on the opening day roster. Is that a reason why you put him on the roster? No, not necessarily. But it's important to know what is at stake with a decision, that it has implications much further on down the line. That you wanting to roster another arm, long reliever or otherwise, but rostering another arm for the first week of the season could potentially cost you a draft pick, the 30th overall draft pick. A lot would have to happen after that, right? Dollander would have to win the Rookie of the Year award for something like that to go down. So I'm just going to throw my hands up, right? Because we don't know the future. That's what's fun. That's what's fun about baseball. We don't know how things are going to play out. But considering all the details and considering everything that is at stake, should you err on the side of caution and just give the guy his first ever opening day roster? We'll see what happens. We'll see what the Rockies end up doing with this decision that doesn't just implicate or just doesn't have ramifications for 2025. It has ramifications for next year's draft, has ramifications going forward. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see what you got to say to me over on the social medias at Patrick D. Lyons, at Patrick D. Lyons MLB, and at Rockies Insider. Make sure you're going over to the YouTube channel. Plenty of great videos. Cool conversation with Will Bardenwerper, an author of a fantastic book, one of my favorite baseball books of all time, immediate classic for me, called Homestand. You can see that conversation that I did with him for our Rocky Mountain chapter of Sabre. Tons of shorts. If you just want to consume a bunch of quick videos and highlights, you can do that. Also see a lot of spring training conversations. See what's going on behind the scenes, how guys are getting ready for 2025. And a really, really cool, about 2 minutes straight, Buddy went on about the organization's pitching philosophy at altitude. And hadn't really seen Buddy talk like that in those ways and talking about analytics and, you know, how the Rockies have, you know, improved their staff. And so I thought that was very interesting, very insightful too, as to what the Rockies are doing behind the scenes, how they consider altitude and the differences between playing at sea level, or at least pitching at sea level, and pitching at 5,280 feet above sea level. So go and check that video, search that one out over on the Rockies Insider channel on YouTube. Appreciate you joining me and giving me tons of momentum. But, well, you know, as I like to say, momentum, it can only be as good as your next show. So, of course, I'll talk to you then.